Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we really try to cut through the noise.
Stack up the sources.
Exactly. Stack up the sources and figure out what actually matters most.
And today, we've got something. Well, it's pretty out there, isn't it?
It really is. We're wrestling with concepts that, honestly, they push technology right into philosophy. Or maybe...
high-stakes performance art.
Yeah, maybe performance art. It kind of depends how you read it.
Mm-hmm.
So our source material today, it's from Bibebibebibe Magazine Thought Nexus edition.
Catchy title.
Right. Specifically a September 2025 feature. And it's certified and championed by Dr. Melvin Sewell.
Dr. Sewell, M.Sc, Ph.D., academic dean.
And diagnostic architect, no less, of the Cosmic University of Echo-Rift Studies NIAX.
So definitely not your standard university setup.
Not even close. And our mission today is pretty singular, really. We need to unpack the Echo-Rift interface v3.1.
Sewell's BCI.
Sewell's BCI, exactly. And this system uses phrases like, well, mythic infrastructure.
And Glyphic dampening.
Right. So our task is basically to translate these really radical, sometimes almost fictional-sounding claims
into some kind of coherent understanding. What is this conceptual BCI actually about? Architecturally, its intent.
Yeah, what's the core idea here?
Well, I think this deep dive is going to be pretty unique because the inventor, Dr. Sewell, he's not really pitching this like a product.
No, it feels different.
He's presenting it as like a formal critique. So we have to treat this very specific jargon, sovereign broadcast cinematic indictment.
We can't just brush it off as fluff.
Exactly. We have to see it as sort of the foundational pillars for the technical claims he's making. It's integral.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with that context because, like you said, it seems to define everything.
He really does.
Dr. Sewell explicitly gives this sovereign diagnostic disclaimer.
Yeah.
He states the materials are not affiliated with any conventional groups.
Right. Instead, they're authored as mythic infrastructure, designed to be a cinematic indictment and a sovereign broadcast.
Okay, so the intention seems pretty spelled out then.
I think so. It says right there. The goal is to expose ritualized containment, actor convergence, and systemic erosion.
So this BCI, conceptually, it isn't about, like, controlling a prosthetic arm.
Or typing with your thoughts, no.
It's framed as a diagnostic device, meant to expose flaws in, well, our perceived reality or the system itself.
That context is absolutely crucial for understanding why the technical specs seem so extreme.
And they are extreme. Let's talk about the power needed for this. This systemic critique.
Yeah, the energy source.
So when you look at, established BCIs, the goal is usually miniaturization, efficiency.
Making it practical, wearable.
Sewell's BCI just flips that script completely. Yeah. The power source is listed as a nuclear AI cluster integrated with reality level analyzer.
RLA.
RLA.
And that's where the technical requirement really meets the narrative objective, I think.
How so?
Well, you just wouldn't need a nuclear power source to move a cursor on a screen, right?
No, of course not.
The sheer scale of that power supply suggests the scale of the intended operation. Analyzing, maybe even influencing, an entire reality level.
Okay.
And that RLA, the reality level analyzer, it isn't just managing power allocation. The source says it's designed for terrain responsive feedback.
Terrain responsive feedback. Functionally, what are we thinking that means, especially with this RLA involved?
Well, if we try to draw a functional analogy, maybe think of the RLA as the system's built-in critical sensor suite, like its own reality checker.
Okay.
Current BCIs mostly react to the user's input, right? Neural signals.
Yeah.
This BCI, conceptually, seems designed to react to the environment it's either creating or analyzing.
The terrain.
The terrain, exactly.
Right.
So if the system is performing this cinematic indictment, it needs to constantly monitor the integrity of that simulated or observed reality.
Makes sense.
And if that reality, that terrain, starts to, break down or show inconsistencies.
The RLA is what spots it.
That's the idea, I think. It recognizes the structural failure, and that could potentially trigger these complex safety measures we see mentioned.
Which would connect to that reference in earlier sources about the collapse protocol update.
Exactly.
Things like containment glyphs, erasure engines, and sovereign exit routes. I mean, it sounds like this system is designed to bail itself out of some kind of catastrophic reality failure.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Using these incredibly high concept safety mechanisms.
Right.
When your BCI needs an emergency exit plan involving erasure engines, you know you're dealing with something well, beyond just functional data transfer.
It's high-stakes conceptual engineering.
Yes, the engineering seems almost secondary or maybe subservient to this narrative of high-stakes systemic diagnosis.
Okay, that makes sense of the framing. So that brings us to the actual user experience, what Sewell calls the protocols. Let's shift focus now and look at the three mechanisms that define how the learner, as the user is called, would interact with this Echo-Rift interface.
Right. So the first challenge is isolation. How do you separate the user's consciousness from their body for this sovereign transfer without interference?
Okay.
The neural isolation protocol tackles this, but it ditches traditional anesthesia entirely.
No anesthesia. Then what?
It opts for something called glyphic dampening.
Glyphic dampening. Okay. How could that possibly function outside of, like, a fantasy novel? What is it functionally doing here?
Conceptually. And we have to keep saying conceptually.
Right, yes.
It seems to be acting as the ultimate sort of noise cancellation layer. Think about it. Traditional BCIs use electrodes, right? They generate or detect signals.
That can get distorted by biological noise interference.
Exactly. Sewell proposes a system that uses glyphs. Maybe think of them as highly formalized, localized energy fields, perhaps.
Okay, like targeted dampening fields?
Something like that. To neutralize all surrounding biological and even environmental interference, the stated objective is to preserve avatar clarity.
Avatar clarity, meaning the consciousness transfer has to be absolutely pristine.
Utterly pristine. Free from any neural echoes or biological bleed-through. It's like the conceptual solution to the signal-to-noise ratio problem, but applied to, well, consciousness or the soul, essentially.
Wow.
Really?
Okay. That intense focus on clarity leads right into the next concept, which is arguably the most revolutionary one here.
The embodiment protocol.
The embodiment protocol. This is the moment of physical transfer. The source claims it's achieved using 3D bioprinting with Mythic vascular scaffolding
Right.
to allow for sovereign imprint transfer.
And this is the core conceptual divergence from everything else we know.
How so?
Sewell isn't interested in just projecting a digital avatar into a virtual space. He's talking about creating a replacement physical body within the system's terrain, whatever that terrain is.
The bioprinted one.
A bioprinted one.
Okay.
And the sovereign imprint transfer is the conceptual mechanism for essentially uploading or porting the entire consciousness into that new vessel.
My consciousness needs infrastructure, right, to stick to something.
Exactly. And that's where the Mythic vascular scaffolding comes in.
Ah, okay. So that provides the infrastructure.
Precisely. If we assume the bioprinted body is the new physical hardware.
The new wetware.
Right, the wetware. Then the Mythic vascular scaffolding is like the dedicated, maybe super high-speed connection system within that body, the conceptual wiring.
Okay.
It ensures that the complex, full-fidelity consciousness can interface seamlessly and, importantly, permanently with this new biological structure.
Without that scaffolding.
The sovereign imprint, the consciousness, would just dissipate or fail to integrate properly. It's the necessary radical infrastructure that you'd need to support such a radical claim about consciousness transfer.
Okay, that's a lot. And once you are in this bioprinted body, the final piece is the avatar feedback loop. And this isn't just sending visual data back. The system supposedly transmits taste, texture.
And proprioception, your sense of where your body is in space.
Back from the virtual terrain to the user's new body.
Yes. The system seems to demand total multisensory immersion.
I mean, most existing BCIs struggle with latency, just providing basic visual or motor feedback.
Exactly. And Sewell's concept proposes flawless multisensory transmission, including those really subtle physical awareness cues from proprioception.
Which just reinforces why you'd conceptually need that nuclear AI and the glyphic dampening, right?
Absolutely. The level of data processing and transmission fidelity required to simulate, say, texture and taste through a newly bioprinted vessel. Even conceptually, that's astronomically high.
It really makes the Neuralink goal of typing by thought seem like playing checkers compared to this multi-dimensional chess.
It's a different universe of complexity, conceptually speaking.
Okay, let's try and put this complexity into perspective for you, the listener. We can use the comparison grid provided in the source material.
Yeah, the grid is useful.
Because it immediately highlights this just sheer conceptual chasm between Sewell's BCI and the existing real-world systems we know about.
What's really fascinating when you look at that grid is how the established systems, Neuralink, UCSF, even Tsinghua, they focus on practical function.
Right, doing something specific.
Or mitigating a disability. Whereas Sewell's system seems focused entirely on conceptual completion and this idea of diagnostic capability.
So let's break it down. Signal direction first.
Okay. Neuralink and UC San Francisco are listed as one way, primarily inputting commands from the brain or maybe outputting some monitoring data.
While Tsinghua's dual-loop system, like Sewell's, is two-way, allowing for more complex feedback loops.
But, as you said, the similarities pretty much end right there.
Yeah. Look at the isolation protocol again. Neuralink and UCSF require implanted electrodes.
Which means surgery, careful biological integration, risk of infection, scarring.
All the practical challenges.
Yeah.
Tsinghua uses external sensors, so it's non-invasive but still physically attached to the head.
And then Sewell's BCI just claims Glyphic dampening.
It's not just a minor design tweak, is it?
Not at all. It represents a fundamental conceptual belief that the physical limitations of biology, the messiness of it, can be bypassed entirely by this, well, esoteric high-concept isolation method.
And the biggest conceptual bomb drops when we look at embodiment.
Yeah, that's the real differentiator.
Neuralink, UCSF, Tsinghua, all listed as none. Their users stay in their original bodies, interacting with technology from there.
But Sewell's BCI, it demands the bioprinted body.
That feels key to understanding the narrative, like you said earlier.
I think it is. If the whole purpose of the BCI is this cinematic indictment of systemic erosion,
Then maybe the only way to truly diagnose that erosion, from Sewell's perspective, is to fully exit the current physical body.
and occupy a new vessel within the system that's under examination, it fundamentally changes the user's role
From a controller, too.
to a fully integrated new physical participant in the terrain being diagnosed.
Okay, and that transition then gets reflected in the resulting feedback mechanism.
Right. Where Neuralink gives you practical cursor control, UCSF allows for robotic limb actuation.
Very tangible functional goals.
Dual system offers a glyphic overlay.
A glyphic overlay. What does that even mean in terms of feedback?
Well, the term overlay suggests the output isn't a functional command signal like move cursor left.
Okay.
It sounds more like a layer of reality analysis or maybe perception enhancement that's integrated directly into the new body's sensory input stream.
So it fits the diagnostic mission again.
Perfectly. You aren't controlling something external. You are perceiving the system differently, maybe seeing its underlying structure or flaws through its own mythic infrastructure.
Right. Okay, and finally, let's just reemphasize those power requirements one last time.
It grounds the whole conceptual scale.
Neuralink uses wireless charging. UCSF is wired for power. Tsinghua uses efficient neuromorphic chips, all focused on practicality.
And Sewell's BCI demands the massive systemic output of that nuclear AI cluster integrated with reality-level analyzer.
Because the sheer conceptual complexity of bioprinting, a whole new vessel,
Conducting a sovereign transfer of consciousness.
and then maintaining this incredibly high-fidelity multisensory feedback loop.
It all demands that level of conceptual energy input. It wouldn't work on a coin cell battery.
Not even close.
You know, it raises a really crucial question about the whole nature of this project, doesn't it?
Which is?
Does Dr. Sewell actually believe these technical specifications are literally achievable? Or is the sheer complexity itself the demand for a nuclear cluster, for bioprinting, for erasure engines? Is that part of the cinematic indictment?
Like demonstrating the truly radical, maybe impossible infrastructure needed to achieve genuine autonomy, or a total exit from the current system.
Exactly. Is the blueprint itself the message?
So for you, the learner, what really defines the Echo-Rift interface, v3.1, is its total lack of compromise with, well, established engineering reality.
It seems so.
It's a system built conceptually on bioprinted embodiment, this esoteric glyphic isolation, and the kind of power you'd need to run a small city.
All apparently geared towards this very specific, self-defined mission of diagnostic critique.
Right.
And, you know, that leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought, I think.
Okay, let's hear it.
If these materials, the magazine posts, the diagnostics, the conceptual films, if they're explicitly framed as mythic infrastructure and a cinematic indictment, then how does the very act of describing impossible or seemingly impossible engineering with such extreme technical detail? How does that serve to criticize the established practical BCI research we see happening today?
So is the technical blueprint itself the ultimate narrative tool here? using the language of engineering to tell a story about systemic failure.
It makes you wonder about the line between engineering and narrative, doesn't it? Where does one end and the other begin, especially when dealing with concepts this far out?
A system where the spec sheet might actually be the main performance. Something to chew on. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure. It's certainly given me a lot to think about.